So, morning everyone. Welcome to another Facebook Live creative writing session. I think this is my 8th, and the title of this one is Tales of My Family. So, just a couple of quick housekeeping things. I have overplanned as usual. I'm going to try my best to get through the stuff that I've got ready for you today. But I will be pacing it fairly slowly to give people time to write. Some people will be quicker than others. So don't forget, if you're finding this a little bit slow, maybe you can write and sit and think while we wait for people to catch up, and you can post comments, some lovely bits of writing in the comments. Or if you're finding it really annoying, maybe come back and watch the recorded video, and then you'll be able to fast forward through bits if you're finding them a little bit too slow. So I'm going to give you some writing prompts today about family, and hopefully I'll have some time to share a few bits, a few examples as well. We'll see if I can do that. So let's crack on, because as I say, I've got more here than I can use, so the sooner we get on with it, the better. I'm going to be prompting memories and stories of families, and that is largely because for me, when I do a quick creative writing activity, it's usually stories of families that come up, of my family, and that's because family is really important to us. It's one of primal importance to us, particularly in childhood, when we rely on having a family to keep us alive, really. And they prompt a sense of belonging, but they can also prompt a sense of not belonging and sadness. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to think of some happy and funny and pleasant memories from my prompts, but they could also prompt sad memories, memories of loss and disappointment. So be aware of how you're feeling as you write. Have some self-care, and if you're finding that you're getting too upset by the writing prompts today, stop. Don't make yourself press on and be unhappy. The idea is to have some fun and a bit of enjoyment from the writing, not to make yourself miserable. So I'm going to dive straight in and ask you to write a list of as many family members as you can. So this is going to be a quick activity, just to warm up, and then we're going to use the things that we come up with. So that could be immediate family, parents, siblings, could be grandparents, extended grandparents, borrowed grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, your in-laws, if you have any, going back to ancestors if you know how of family members in the past. People who are real relatives, your real blood relatives, and people you might have chosen as family. I have several very good friends who I consider as my family, and I see probably more than some members of my family. Lem Sisse, who's a very famous writer, who's just got an OBE, was brought up in care, and he talks about the importance of people, of creating a family for yourself, of friends who are supportive, particularly if there are failings in your own family. And there's also neighbours. Our neighbours we called auntie and uncle. So there you can include them as well, anybody you like. So I'm going to get my timer, maybe seven minutes, to come up with a list of as many family members as you can. And off you go. One thing I did mean to say, you might want to space your list out, because you may want to add jottings to them later, but you don't have to. If you fancy doing that, just leave a few lines between each. Just got 2 more minutes if you want to be finishing your list. Okay, time's just about up. So there you go. Yeah, that surprised me. I began to notice that the people who popped into my memory first. Oh, have we got any comments? There you go. Good morning, Donna. Good morning, Irene, and hello, Claire. So, yeah, I hope you found that interesting. That's going to beep now. I hope you found that interesting. I found it interesting in that there is, when I do the bits of writing that come out, when I do write snatches about my family, usually about the same set of people. In writing a list, which I've never done before, I noticed there's almost a hierarchy to it. And that I forgot to mention my children until quite a long way down it. There you go. So my stories obviously lean more towards my birth family. Some unresolved storytelling there, I think. Right. Okay. So I hope you found that useful. So you might want to keep that by you, because the next bit we're going to do. So you've got a choice here. You can choose how you want to write this morning. And of course you can do fiction or memoir, writing true life stories or make-up stories. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to give you a couple of options to do. The first thing is to think about one of those people. When we write stories of our family, we almost have to treat them like characters, as if we were writing a fictional story. Because if we're writing for about them for somebody else, we need to create a rounded picture. So somebody who doesn't know them will get a real understanding, a real flavour of that person. So you could choose one person that you, in your list, that you feel you might want to write about. You might even find you have time to do a couple of these. And create almost a character profile for them. And that could be, you could do that just jotting notes, or it could be like a spider diagram. It doesn't have to be fully formed pieces, because we'll do that next. But for instance, here's a kind of thing you could do. That's one style of diagram you could do with the name of the character in the middle, and then bits of information around them. It's just a quick fire thing, really, to offload, like Harry Potter does with the magic wand. Offload what's in your brain onto a bit of paper. So choose a character and jot some notes about them, maybe as a spider diagram, about everything you can think of about them. So it could be biological information, where they were born, when they were born. It could be somebody from the past who's no longer alive, or it could be somebody who is still here. So it could be what they were or are like, their characters. Are they funny? Are they grumpy? My dad was a very grumpy man. Lovely, but leant towards the grumpy. What do they look like? Particularly, are there any strong physical features? If you would do the first image you get of them, if you think of them, are there strong, striking features about them? Red hair or big blue eyes. My mother had big blue eyes that were very striking. How do they dress? Have they got a particular style of dress? Any routines and hobbies that you could jot down? So, for instance, my mother was a prolific knitter in later years and used to make lots and lots of Aran jumpers that she gave family and friends. It was her thing to make young children Aran jumpers. Have they got any mannerisms? And again, my mother had a strong Cockney accent. She was from the East End of London, and my dad was from Barnsley, so he had a Barnsley twang to him. Were there any sayings of theirs that you particularly remember? Family saying of ours is, "It is what it is," because I'm not even sure which family member started it, but it's a regular saying in my family. Did that person have any hobbies, particular hobbies like knitting or woodworking or fossil hunting or photography, collecting things? Have you got a strong memory of a time that you were with them somewhere and doing something as a child or as an adult in recent times or a long time ago? Do you know any stories that were told about them? And do you have an object that you associate with them? Can you think of one object that you would strongly associate with them? Jewellery or clothing or something they'd use for a hobby? So, your choices. You choose one person and write some notes about them, what they were like, or you, on the list that you've created of your family members, you could jot a few notes by each. Some strong memories, strong images, physical or a memory or something that they did. And again, I'm going to we'll try 5 minutes, and then if we find that that's not long enough, we can carry on. So there you go, it's 18 minutes past. Try 5 minutes to jot some notes either about one member of your family or just a few notes on your list of the wider family. Morning, Ursula. You're allowed to be late, but it's nice to have you here now. We just, I don't know if you caught what we're doing. We've chosen a member of our family and we're writing spider diagrams, memories of them, what they were like, their hobbies. There you go, we've finished now. That's the 5 minutes up. So I don't know how you got on with that. I was just beginning to, I got the stuff that I remembered quite easily. I've done my granddad, my step-granddad as it happens, and I'd got the stuff that was floating at the top, the obvious memories, jotted down quite quickly, and I just got to the point where I was digging deeper and remembering a little bit more about him. The fact that he used to wear, what did they call them? It's not a waistcoat, a knitted, I'll come to you in a minute, knitted waist, tank top. You don't see people in tank tops now. My granddad used to wear a tank top. And he was a borrowed granddad, which I didn't find out until I was 11. My mum wasn't his real daughter, so. But yeah, I've never done that before about granddad either, so I can see me pulling some things out of that into a poem about him. I really loved my grandmother and found granddad a bit grey and not very interested in us. So it'd be interesting to explore that a little bit more. So, and I hope you've managed to get some good notes about somebody in your family. It's something you can return to and add to as memories come to you. And these things, these notes that you're preparing are really useful for if you do want to put a memoir together. You could perhaps write pieces about all of them and put them together in a little collection. With photographs even. So let's talk about what you could do with those. There are several things you could do with that. The first one, there's a really good poem I used in a children's book by Michael Rosen. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to read other people's workouts, so I haven't, but the poem's called Uncle Billy Being Silly. I used to do this with my children in the car. So Uncle Billy being silly, rhyming. Driving to school with the children, we used to come up with others. And here's a few examples. So, Mum and Dad, driver's mad. Uncle Pete, big feet. Nana Horn, this is slightly longer. Nana Horn washed Pete's mouth with soap and he wished he'd not been born. My brother Roy picked my toy. My son Ned, always early out of bed. Auntie Mel moans like hell. That one used to make them giggle. You could do that. You could do an amusing, very short poem, rhyming poem. That's the person and a trait about them. You can have to be a little bit inventive to make them rhyme. Or you could just do it and they don't rhyme. Another version of that would be a kenning. So a kenning is an Anglo-Saxon style of poetry. Again, very short, where a person is described by their attributes, and a usual form of it is to have a noun and a verb. And you do find examples that aren't quite like that. Where have I put it? Here you go. So here's one that I wrote about my son a little while ago. He's now not a boy who jumps early out of bed. He's a man in his early 20s. My son, obsessive gamer, van driver, no longer childlike, footy player, bike rider, heart melter, still melts my heart, mother's darling, cider drinker, risk taker, determined trier, Tigers watcher, that's the rugby team, not the animals. Statistics nerd, particularly about sport. So there you go, my son. So I began that with my son and ended it with my son. Some of those aren't strictly noun and verbs, but you get the idea. In creativity, we're allowed to do what we like. There are no wrongs, as long as we're not upsetting people. So you could do that. Poetry, short poems. You could You could write a story or memory that you remember about that person. I've got an example here from somebody in my writing group, David. I can find it. He recalled a memory, a shocking memory about his grandfather. My grandfather lied to my grandmother. My grandfather lied to my grandmother when he told her that he would give their sons. My grandfather lied to my grandmother when he told her that he would give their son's girlfriend a warm welcome to the family. Sorry, my mistake. Dreadful reading. The young lady in question was later to become my mother, and so I received the story firsthand many years on. Second-hand story. It had taken my father some time to sum up the courage and introduce his intended to his parents, but the time had come and the meeting had to be faced. My grandfather, a veteran of the First World War, was, at the time, Chief Inspector for the town's GPO. He was both respected and feared by many people in equal amounts, and could be very abrupt and acerbic on some occasions. On arrival at his family home, my father introduced Sylvia and waited for a suitable response to be forthcoming. But apparently my grandfather proceeded to look her up and down a couple of times and then said, by way of acceptance, "Ain't she got big feet?" He then continued to compare his daughter's feet in a more favourable light, remarking, "Our Muriel has nice dainty feet." Mortified, my mother made the best of the situation at the time, but I know for certain that she never forgave him. During my entire lifetime, my mother never again put her foot near my grandfather's house, but she always made my lovely grandmother very welcome in hers. There you go. That's a second-hand story that David's recalled of his mother meeting her future in-laws. So you could write a memory or a memory of you being with the person that you've noted. You could write about one of the objects. I suggested that you think of an object that you associate with them. And I had some really good pieces from my writing group when we used the prompts of shoes or jewellery. One lady didn't write about jewellery, but she wrote about her granny's hats. Her grandmother had been a JP in the town that they lived in and was always very formally dressed. Had different hats for different occasions, but usually very formal. Another writer wrote about the jewellery that her mother had and how it was passed on to her, and the how it was split up in the family and who got what. And another friend of mine wrote a wonderful piece about her mother's handbags. So objects can be great for writing stories. My father's toolbox is something that I remember from childhood, and how all the pieces, because he'd been an apprentice, all the pieces had his name stamped on them. So you could write about an object. My mother's wool collection, given that my mother was a knitter. Or it could be something about their bodies. A really good prompt is hands. Another friend wrote a piece about her father's hands and how she remembered them being strong and capable. And she lost him when she was 6. So you could write a letter to the person, either to them or from them. They could be writing to you as you are now or in the past, or just an imaginary letter retelling a situation that they've been in. Or here's one you could tell, a short story of their life in a fairy tale form. Once upon a time, this is my father, once upon a time, there was a young man in Barnsley who wanted to be an engineer. So he left his family and moved to the East Midlands, where he was taken on as an apprentice at a factory in the town of... just make it quite short, doesn't need to be long. Or do whatever you like with it. I hope that's enough prompts for you. Lots of different ways you could go with it. I have been told I give too many prompts and people like to be told to do one thing. So if you're somebody who likes to be told to do one thing, choose an object related to that person and use that object, the story of that object, to help describe the person that you're thinking of. But if you're like me and you like to go off in your own direction, write anything you like about that person. We're going to have, let's see, let's try 10 minutes and see how that goes. I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to end up writing about my granddad, who I've never written about before. If it works out, 10 minutes isn't enough, we can add a few minutes on. And Ursula jerkin. I think jerkins are padded, aren't they? But tank tops. I like tank tops. Very practical. Very practical for keeping your body warm. But not too hot, as you might be in a cardigan. Okay, yeah, so I'm talking again. 10 minutes, off you go, writing about the person and you've written the notes about. we just have one more minute if you like to round up the bit that you've done. Okay, sorry, I just had to finish that off. Right, I've just got a few minutes to share. How you got on with that one? Oh, well done, Ursula. Ursula got in just over the beat. You did better than me then. I didn't manage it. Okay, so mine's ended up being quite sad. Sad, really. I'm going to read it to you anyway. I found out when I was about 11 that Charlie C wasn't really my granddad. This fact leaked to us in conversations between my mum and Auntie Rose when she visited from London with her children one half term. Our council house packed with young bodies sleeping top and tail, no room anywhere for two childhood friends to reminisce without little ears overhearing. I remember the shock of the news. The old, bristle-bearded, grey-haired man with his home-knitted tank tops and wheezy, TB-damaged lungs was a borrowed granddad, as my brother termed it, no relation to us at all. But though shocked, I wasn't upset about it. And looking back now as an adult, I can see he acted like a man not connected to us. Always. His interest in me was minimal. He would sit quietly listening to the radio or reading on the many occasions I visited my Nana. No attempt at talking to me or asking about school or showing enthusiasm over the butterfly cakes I just made in the kitchen with her. I'd like to think that he showed more interest in my mother when she was a child. He'd adopted her on marrying Nana when Mum was 2. But I know that's not the case. She was shocked to find out he wasn't her father, also around 11, and saddened beyond belief to find he held the distinction inside forever, leaving her nothing, not even a stick of old furniture in his will. There you go. Okay, so I hope you managed to find something more cheerful. The Uncle Billy poems, Uncle Billy Bean silly poems, are much more amusing. But that's it. Some family stories come out. They're deep and dark, and even if I never share them, there are some of them that I'll probably never share with anyone. Having written them and got them out, I find really, really powerful. Cathartic is the word, isn't it? So there you go. We have 10 minutes. If anybody would like to choose your favourite couple of lines from the pieces you've written, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll read them out. Heather's saying that's helpful guidance for memoir writing. Thank you, Heather. I'm going to be, because I've got too many again, I'm going to tidy up my notes and try and get them up on my website by the end of today. If not, it'll be tomorrow. And maybe put some links to some of the pieces that are example pieces. So yeah, they won't be wasted. And as I say, you can keep going back to these pieces and writing more and more things from them. So yeah, Virtual Village Hall. Victoria is putting that you can rewatch this and carry on. That's great. Yeah, we've got a few minutes left. Ursula agrees that it's cathartic. Thank you. Donna says thank you for sharing. You're welcome, Donna. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, so one last quick activity then, which you can carry on after. Is family is. What does family mean to you? So this is a quick prompt. Don't overthink it. Yeah. Family is what it means to you. Just keep stream of consciousness. Family is. It is noisy children getting out of bed too early in the morning when you've not had a good night's sleep. It is an untidy house, and not realising while you have it what a joy that is. Not realising until they're grown and gone what a joy having a noisy, untidy house actually was. Family is arguments at weddings. Family is support at births. Yeah, and if you get stuck, if you find you're running out of things to say, just go write again. Family is. Just keep repeating that sentence. Follow a stream of thought. Keep writing, and if you're stuck, write it again. Ursula Kennings, Kenning. 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 There's some really good ones out there. But again, my website is www.alisonmott.com. I'll put that spelling and some examples up there as well. If you want to come along and check tomorrow, and then they should be up by then. I should be able to do it this evening. Right, 5 minutes. 5 minutes to do. Family is. Or type it if you want to. Just type one in the comment now. I've got a few minutes. I can share them if you do. 1 more minute. No, actually, you've got 2. Okay. So if you just want to finish that, I've got a few things on mine. Karen Freeman, family is a home full of memories and love. It is indeed. That's a lovely one. Donna Hughes says family is not defined by space or time. I love that. It's true. Ursula Goodall, family is where you find it. And again, that's very true. Family's more, there's more to family than blood. And, oops, there you go. Relationships. I quickly zipped through mine, ended up doing a couple of long babbling sentences. Family is a house full of toys and books and shoes and clothes and noise and laughter and lost PE kits and reading bags and homework not done and well dones and swimming certificates and snuggles and tears and love. Family is a group of people who remember your favourite toy when you were 3 and join in with snatches of old songs your mother sang and call you by a nickname none of your friends now know you by. Family is, again sad, family is a long list of Christmas cards to send in November, a list which sadly dwindles smaller and smaller as the years go by. Okay, that's us nearly done. So thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed that. I always forget to look at the camera. Hope you enjoyed that. So as I say, other prompts will be on my website, www.alisonmott.com. I will link to some more examples, people from my writing groups. Feel free to send us, to cut and paste any pieces you write into the comments under this video. It'd be great to see them. And hopefully I'll see you next time, which is actually 5 weeks. Right, let me just find the date. So it's going to be Tuesday, July the 20th at 2:30 in the afternoon next time. I've forgotten the topic then, but it'll be posted up. Thank you. Nice to meet you all too. Heather, Ursula, Donna, Karen, thank you for commenting on the workshop and hope to see you next time. Bye everyone.